what you have is you've got people working in movies, you've got people working in theatre, you've got people working in sport, you've got corporate, you've got entertainment, music festivals, all that kind of stuff. It would be amazing to see all of these experiences converge so that the feeling that you get when you go to a music concert, the spine tingling hair on the back of the neck when you're watching a music concert, imagine having the same feeling at a corporate event.
All right, let's cue the music. Hello and welcome to In the Event, a podcast that steps behind the curtain of unforgettable experiences. From bold ideas to behind-the-scenes insights, each episode dives into conversations with designers, curators, creators, storytellers, dreamers, connectors, producers, innovators, explorers, and leaders. These are the people shaping the moments that move us. It's a space where creativity meets intention and experience becomes a story. I'm Josh Godding, founder and creative director at Jago Creative. Coming to you from Gadigal land, I'm here today at AV1's headquarters in Alexandria, Sydney, where I'm chatting to my friend, former colleague and boss, Keith Wootton. Keith Wootton is the principal of Festival Group, which includes AV production company AV1, event technology company Sprintr, and video first production company All Things, All Creatures. I can't imagine a more fitting guest for this inaugural episode. Keith, welcome, and thank you very much for being my very first guest on In the Event.
Josh, it's so good to be here, and thank you so much for choosing me for number one. Delighted to be here.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much. We're sitting here today in quite a cozy little nook in AV1's headquarters. Keith, to start off with, can you tell us the experience that the AV1 team here is wanting to give staff and clients when they walk through the door of this building?
Sure. Intention, Josh. Total intention with this building. When you walk through the door, you essentially walk into the kitchen. And the kitchen, as you know, is the heart of any home. So we made it the heart of this building. It's the area you walk into where the upstairs office meets the downstairs warehouse, where everybody converges around food. It's also an area where we can host clients, host events in the warehouse. On the way through, clients can pick up a glass of champagne or something to eat and head on through to the event space, which is also our warehouse. So, the intention was to definitely create a special workplace to attract everybody to, come to work.
Excellent. I've been lucky enough to attend some of the events here, particularly the housewarming early last year. And it's amazing how you can transform essentially a warehouse space into something magical. Even the last event, we were here, Kaleidoscope.
Yes.
Where we're all kind of congregating outside. We're all, it's like almost like a countdown. There wasn't an audible countdown, but we kind of could feel it as the guests, and the roller doors come up, and it was a showpiece, and it was amazing how you guys managed to transform that space.
Yeah, so, day by day it's an AV warehouse, but I guess there were certain compromises made by the warehouse crew to allow the aesthetic of the space to kind of shine through as well, to be able to make it be multi-purpose for events and for client rehearsals as well. So it's a great space, and we love it.
It's not only for the clients and the staff that are here, but future staff, up and coming, emerging talent coming through the doors from the education space coming through here.
Absolutely. When we built it, we built a training area as well as having a space for events. It was also a space for training. Post-pandemic, we had a shortage in resources and in staff, and so we were able to create a space where we could level up crew really quickly by having them, be able to practice in real time, setting up equipment, operating it, packing it down. So it worked really, really well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I certainly see that and feel that coming through. Now, Keith, we have known each other for quite some time, almost 20 years.
2006 or 7?
2006 or 7, yeah, almost 20 years.
When you were just out of school, Josh.
Just out of school. We are both events people at heart.
Yeah.
Your career is spanning 3 decades and counting, 20 of that at the helm of AV1, which is amazing. Congrats. I've been on the client side since 2020, and since this time last year, you are now managing your portfolio of innovative customer-first businesses. But can I ask, do you miss being on the ground and in the thick of it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned customer first there. I just love customer interaction. I am one who will do anything for a customer, and that idea of being able to solve a problem for somebody is just part of my being, willing to and wanting to help all the time. So look, I guess I had a fair few years of being on the road, both from a technical point of view, but also in operational point of view, account management, and then production management, and traveling and roadshows, all those fun things. And I did give that away to have a family and to, I guess, administer the business, and it needed a lot of administration. But I do miss being on the ground, and on occasion I will get out and see an event when I can.
You began your career as a sound engineer way back in your teenage years in the 90s. Sorry if that gives away your age, sure.
Back in the dark ages.
Back in the dark ages. Working behind the scenes with artists, producers, and all technical mechanics of recording and mixing sound. It's a role that requires both precision and collaboration. What parts of that experience have stuck with you, and in what ways does your work look different now?
Yeah, so, when I was at high school, all I wanted to do was be a sound engineer. I just wanted to stand in an arena behind a mixing board with a lanyard around my neck and a cigarette hanging out of my mouth and just mixing a band. That was the dream. The dream never really came to be, although I did cut my teeth early when I was about 18. I worked at a rehearsal and recording studio in my native Dublin. And I worked with a whole host of amazing people back then who were all really dedicated to their craft and dedicated to the movement that was the music industry at that point in Dublin. What did I take from that? Look, one rings true, and it's a monitor engineer for a very, very large touring act. To give you a clue, they're still together after all these years. There's 4 of them, and they're one of the biggest bands in the world. But he basically says, you don't F up with these guys.
Right.
You just. I think he was changing batteries every hour or something like that on the headsets, and while it's fun and it's glamorous and what have you, at the core of it, there's a lot of highly technical people doing highly technical things, and it all just has to work. And as you see, with performance, with rock and roll, with events, or with concerts, I should say, it all just is always seamless. I mean, 99.9% of the time, it's a seamless performance. So I certainly took that and tried to implement it into my the career that I ended up in, which was corporate events.
I mean, you would take that same principle with, don't F it up kind of thing with everything that you do. I mean, this is why everyone's so successful, is that, client is different. You're treating them all the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everything is vital and everything is urgent.
Yeah.
It has to be that way. So you tend to be, running on adrenaline a lot of the time, in the show or running a business or whatever, but it's with the pursuit of perfection in mind.
A thing I found really interesting is the inspiration you had for Sprintr almost a decade ago now. Am I correct in saying it originated from an airline check-in experience?
Yes, so Sprintr came to be because I was looking to develop an app for AV1, an events app, at the time when events app were becoming the thing. And in talking to an app company, essentially, who ended up white labeling their app to us to save me hiring developers, they were doing a lot of point of sale style, touch screen with printer, kind of very, I guess, not quite road ready solutions for event check-in. And so AV1, as you know, was well able for logistics and for the transportation of equipment and what have you. So essentially, yes, the idea came from airline check-in, but it was through a conversation with an app company that then I found this beautiful form factor locally here in Sydney that became the Sprintr kiosk. And that has led to 9 years of great success with the Sprintr brand. And for those listeners who don't know what the Sprintr brand is basically on-site, on-demand badge printing. So you arrive on site, you scan your QR code, and you print a little A6 badge, stick it on a lanyard, and put it around your neck, and away you go into the conference or event or exhibition. So, yeah, look, it was the airline check-in experience that I was looking to implement, and boy, oh boy, as soon as we put these up at the first event, we had 6 of them. We put them up at this first event, and as soon as the participants walked in, they just walked straight to these. So I knew we were onto a winner.
Yeah, wow. Even though it wasn't exactly, as you're saying, from the airline industry, is there any other aspects of the airline industry now that you would think would work perfectly to adopt into the events industry here?
Look, I mean, the airline industry is all around precision engineering on the back end. It has to be around precision engineering. And when you look at the amount of aircraft that are in the air all the time, and the amount of or the seldom do you see an actual air fatality or what have you. That's on the backside. So it's all precision engineering. But on the front end, it is absolute customer service. And if you're on a 14-hour flight from Dubai to Sydney, and you want a Coca-Cola at 3 a.m, wherever it is, you just have to push a button and somebody comes with a smile, and gets that for you. And that is that's a pretty dedicated field to be in, where you have to be absolutely and utterly selfless. So, customer service and selflessness, that really ticks those boxes for me. That's certainly,
Hashtag surprise and delight, hey?
Hashtag surprise and delight.
Yeah.
Bring 2 Cokes.
3 a.m. in the morning, flying miles high.
Yes.
I began my career with AV1 in its early stages, as we alluded to earlier, where I developed professionally. Starting out as an AV technician, I transitioned to video and content creation, and then became an art director within AV1's media department. You provided me with opportunities as a new creative back in 2007. What advice would you offer aspiring young professionals in the industry now?
Look, knock on doors, certainly. You can have a fair idea of who you want to be, where you want to go, what you want to do, but also, knock on doors and volunteer, and just put yourself in front of people, or surround yourself with people with whom you want to work. Go out there and seek opportunities, and make yourself indispensable. Then, in terms of, and that isn't necessarily from a skills point of view. It can be from a personality point of view. That just being a great person to be around. Oftentimes, you'll find yourself being kept at an organization because of your, the technical skills can be taught, but the life skills and being a person who is willing to help out, who's willing to get on with people, just being a good person is enough to kind of get you kept on at any kind of organization. In my opinion,
is that kind of core human factor there? I mean, it's in my
absolutely.
I totally 100% agree. It's the skills, as you're saying, can be taught, but that human touch and the human kind of skills and relatable stuff, definitely plays a massive part.
Yeah, and it's also, I always was of the opinion that what can I do to help, rather than what can somebody do to help me. So it's putting us out there. It's the old adage of what can I do for my country rather than what my country can do for me. But I really believe in that because it pays dividends thereafter.
Yeah, absolutely. Being Irish Australian, you're a huge U2 fan, and I'm in the beginning of the podcast. You were doing very well at not mentioning the actual U2 name. You were letting me introduce them in this question, but you, casting your mind back, you took the entire AV1 team to the 360 tour back in 2010 at Sydney's ANZ Stadium, which I was fortunate enough to attend during my time at AV1. That was just amazing. I just writing this question and thinking about it, just the 360 degree kind of atmosphere.
Yeah,
I think it was called
the Claw stage.
The Claw, yeah. It definitely. I've seen a lot more of that kind of in the round kind of stuff, and certainly obviously I think a lot of the staff took inspiration from that and took it into events. But your history with U2 goes back even further, including attending the Zoo TV tour and even working with them in the factory sound engineering studio in Dublin. Yeah. Thinking back to the Zoo TV tour, what was that experience like, and did it inspire your innovative approach to stage production, and did that lead to your work in AV and event production and essentially starting AV1?
Absolutely. Look, that band is always inspiring, and I'd been a fan of them since I was a kid. My brother was a big fan too, and had all the early albums, and so I was fortunate enough then, when I was about 18, 19, to end up working in the studio where they were rehearsing and subsequently recording, and this is before the original Zoo TV tour happened. We were dragging up Philips DigiWall CRT machines up into the studio so they could rehearse in real time with the vision that was going to be projected.
Some of our audience probably don't know what a CRT
I know,
is.
cathode ray tube. Red, green, blue guns.
Yeah.
But, and this is, I guess, ancient history for some people who are probably, born in the year 2000 listening now. But at the same time, it was so innovative at the time. It was so cutting edge and leading edge. And then, yes, we were fortunate enough to be flown, myself and a few of the other studio people were flown to Lisbon for the night to watch the gig, with the band in the Zoo TV jet and all that. So that was an unbelievable experience. Now, what was even more unbelievable was watching the show. We stood at the mix position and we watched this, what looked like an inferno, just taking off screen by screen with all the audio and all the lighting. And it was like nothing else that I'd ever seen. It's totally spine tingling stuff, the hairs in the back of the neck standing up. So of course you're going to be influenced by that, and of course it was an influence on me throughout my career, watching any kinds of performance acts and the way in which they use technology, either very simplistically or in very complex kind of setups as well. But it's always influenced my if and when I ever had the opportunity to put something together, design something, then those things were those gigs that I'd seen were always top of mind. So that period of time was just so great, and is still influenced me to this day.
You mentioned the Zoo TV jet that you got to fly in. I mean, did they carry that kind of? I mean, what was it like in there? I'm imagining it. It probably carried some of the experience of the. Yeah, I mean,
it was just a private jet. It was quite a big plane. I can't remember what make and model it was now, but it was we were sitting in 4 seats that were opposing each other, sitting there just pinching ourselves, going, here we are on our way to Lisbon. And then we were whisked away after the gig, back to the airport, back onto the plane and back to Dublin to go to the nightclubs by about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was amazing.
Speaking of the pinch me moments, U2 did a 5-month residency in Las Vegas, which served as the grand opening of the Las Vegas Sphere. You and a colleague went over there. What was it like visiting that venue to see U2 perform? Did you have expectations going into it?
I didn't really have any expectations, but I knew it was going to be big.
Big, yeah.
And the expectations were blown asunder. Like, it was
Yeah.
absolutely out of this world. Yeah, Dylan Badaham, who runs our AV1's Melbourne office, and I went across there. We went across landed on Halloween. And we went to Fremont Street, and we had a great old time with everybody there dressed up to the nines with costumes. And then we backed it up the following afternoon. I think I woke at 4 p.m, went down, had some dinner, and then Dylan and I off to the Sphere. We were blown away first by the exoskeleton of the Sphere and all of the little hockey puck style LEDs that are on the outside, that form, so we had a close up, of those.
But you can even see that. I mean, from a distance, it's quite spectacular as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But during the day and the night. And so then to walk inside and see the sheer scale of the space. But when you go in there, it's all made out like it was made out like it was a big stone wall. But then as the show came alive, the visuals, the artists that they had collaborated with in order to make the content was absolutely amazing. And, at points you were in night, and the next moment you were in day, like it was like being in daylight.
Yeah, wow.
in a big stadium. And it was, 16,000 people staring down. And the other beauty of it is the not only the LED, we managed to be able to get close enough to the LED to touch it, but the audio
Was
as
that
well.
frowned upon?
No,
Is that
we were
allowed?
very careful. But we respected the LED. But the audio as well is totally directional in that venue. So you can literally have sections of the venue translating into different languages, aiming at sections of the audience.
Wow.
on an event. Obviously, that wasn't the case with the U2 gig, but it was so big and just out of this world. And a little bit of jet lag and a bit of booze and a bit of trailing of the night before that we were out. It was quite an experience. So I think Dylan was there for like 52 hours, and I was on the ground for 56 hours, and then it was home. So the whole thing was like a dream,
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the dream and kind of the journey kind of thing, I mean, what made that, really successful? And I guess the Sphere as well, the acts going in there and the creatives behind it, they're creating a journey with the experience.
Absolutely.
As you're saying, it goes from day to night. It's, obviously going along with the catalogue, all the breadth of music and different styles of music that U2's got. And I guess that kind of complements the music.
Oh,
and
look, there were times when you were just staring up into the space, when the music was just a soundtrack to what you were watching.
Yeah.
So, because, the band was quite small compared to the whole space, but boy, it was some experience.
What do you enjoy more, the spectacle of an event from the audience perspective, or contributing to its creation as part of the team behind the scenes?
Oh, look, a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. I mean, in terms of music performance, I just love being part of the audience. I've no desire to produce music events at all, because I just enjoy them so much that I don't want to be engaged or involved in what's happening back at house at all. It's pure pleasure. Whereas, corporate events, which is where I've dwelled for the last 20 years, definitely love being part of, putting a concept together and then seeing it come to reality. As simple as walking into an empty space, a cavernous room or a ballroom or whatever it is, and transforming it into a show, with all of the gear and all of the content and all that stuff. So it's equally as thrilling, but in a different kind of way.
Yeah, it's like that, the butterflies. So I know when I go to a gig that I'm, sitting there in anticipation, I think it's the same level of good nerves that you get, the butterflies that you get when you're sitting. Well, not always sitting, but standing as well, and getting ready for a show to start behind the scenes. I reckon it's that same anticipation.
It is a good buzz.
Yeah, good buzz.
Yeah.
Do you get the same level of satisfaction now from music gigs and events or theatre as you did when you were younger?
I actually think I get more now.
Okay.
And I'm not sure whether that has something to do with the maturing ears, but I just tend to hear a lot more of the individual instruments these days on music gigs. So I think having a more mature kind of appreciation of everything that it took to put this particular performance on as well contributes to that too. So I think nowadays I enjoy it more, and there's more music, and there's more. It's some of it's very nostalgic.
Absolutely. But do you think that's I guess a symptom, or not a good symptom from the industry and the role and that you play, and the work that you're in? Do you think that has also created a better appreciation of when you do go and see a gig?
Absolutely. Yeah. Looking up and seeing the truss and the lights and the PA and all of that stuff. I will always look up at a gig. I will always look around and look on the stage and, see whether it's the back line or whether it's the fallback or whatever it is there. There's a huge appreciation for what the crew on that particular show has done. And oftentimes in social situations, I will tell people what I actually do for a living, or what the company does for a living, and they kind of look at me and go, "Oh, okay, I guess, oh yeah, somebody has to do that. I didn't realize that there are actually people behind doing all that stuff.
Yeah,
I thought it just happened."
Smoke and mirrors.
So oftentimes I'm sure punters go to gigs and they assume that all the lighting and sound, or the PA and everything, is just in the venue, and the band show up and bring their instruments. But there's a whole lot more. So having an appreciation for that certainly adds to the experience of what's going on stage.
Yeah, wow. As adults, do we sometimes lack the childlike sense of play and wonder, do you think? I mean, have we lost our willingness to experiment and accept failure and I guess what I mean by that is, when we're putting on shows, and not necessarily music gigs, but, shows with your clients and everything as well. Do you sense, there's just that willingness not to fail and to just kind of stick with the what we did last time?
Look, I guess there is, because the stakes can be quite high. So sometimes erring on the side of, on the cautious side is the way to go. But at the same time, I think there's certainly room. So there's a couple of things that happen here. Sometimes in our industry, there's very little time taken for the creative side or for the ideation, and it's really around, hey, I need a quote for AV, and therefore, I need a quote in 48 hours, or I need it tomorrow. And so you can't really create something. I mean, you can't create something, you can't ideate something in 24 or 48 hours. So by taking the time to actually think through the event, even if the stakes are high, even if it's quite a staid kind of a subject, then by talking through it, you can certainly come up with some sort of solutions that will have some little bit of creativity or maybe a little bit of play, so that the stakeholders are the audience. So you're not talking about your stakeholders being the marketing manager or the leadership team or the boss or whoever is actually putting on the show, putting on the event. But if you're treating your audience as stakeholders, then you kind of shift the thinking to go, well, what's their experience going to be, and how can we make it a bit playful for them?
I love it. Yeah. The audience of stakeholders. That's, I mean, if I was going to take a takeaway from this so far, I think that is an amazing, amazing one. You mentioned there that the times where clients come to you, or the team here at AV1, and I guess this happens across the board of all AV production companies and events, where they come to you 48 hours notice, and you were saying how can you go above and beyond with, doing something out of the box for them? Yeah. Sometimes they are probably expecting that, but they come to you 48 hours. Do you think that's a kind of an education piece to those clients? Do you think they could be changed or adapted in their thinking to come to you earlier?
Yeah, look, sometimes it's circumstantial.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the notice that they have been given, and so they're straight onto all their suppliers or their venues or whoever it is to actually, pull out all stops to make an event happen, which is great and it's fine, and that's what we are here for, and that's what we service. So
Yeah.
whether somebody has an event tomorrow or they have an event next year, we'll do everything that we can to pull out all stops to provide a quote, to get it happening, to get it on the road. So, as I said, sometimes it's circumstantial, but where time does allow, then just having that time to stand back, conceptualize, and then, take that concept and throw it in the bin, and then just, try a plan B kind of concept as well. I think that there is certainly, if an event manager can allow room for that and has room for that, then to explore that, to ensure that they get the best outcome, because we're doing events every day in venues every day, and so we've got a wealth of experience there where we can possibly pull something out of the hat really, really quickly, but at the same time just having the time to think and to talk and to ensure that we're not missing anything in terms of what the objectives are for the event, then allows us to be, to contribute to that event rather than just supply a list of equipment.
Well, that's why everyone is so successful.
If you say so, Josh.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure the clients out there, or your clients, say exactly the same thing, and everyone watching. You recently attended the World Experience Organization's London Experience Week. Could you please give our audience a taste of the journey you went on?
Yes. So my intention of going to that event was really to, as I said before, just to regarding the audience as being as stakeholders. It's in post-pandemic. I think we have to be more creative with our with the types of events that we are putting on, and so that is rather than putting on events where you're just talking at the audience, is to really create engaging experiences for the audience, so that your event out of all of them is the most memorable one. Now, that was my intention in going there. And the experience economy, as they call it, certainly in the UK, is huge. I mean, everything from a Minecraft experience through to Frameless, through to Outernet, all of these experiences that are happening. There's a War of the Worlds experience as well. So obviously it's got a huge population across there that can sustain having all of these kinds of experiences. But bringing those experiences into events is certainly my intention, and to be converging different types of disciplines into the corporate event. And an example now, you've got a convergence happening anyway. You've got wedding planners doing corporate events. You've got theatre producers doing product launches. And so there's a great convergence there of art into kind of the corporate side. I was at Outernet and I saw Mr. Doodle, very popular in the UK, doing a promotion with Kleenex, where he was inside a glass box that was representative of a small tissue box with a false tissue coming out of the top of it. And he was doodling away, and you had that being projected onto all of the walls of Outernet, which is a completely LED kind of a space, big public open space. And of course, you had thousands of people passing through there with their phones in the air, recording, snapping, selfieing, all of that kind of stuff. Now, this is the experience of selling tissues, which previously you would have had, the Kleenex would have bought TV ad space, and now this is the new medium for that. So it's turning tissue boxes into an experience. So there are so many ways and means that the that corporate events and that sponsorship and all that can be done in such a creative way now that it's really, really exciting, and it's just, as I say, my original intention was to go and see what all this was about, and to see it in action, it just shows you how effective you can be with the use of the technology.
Absolutely.
So it's not just all about the technology, but it is about the desired outcome using, the greatest tech or tech in a really creative manner.
Yeah,
so,
and that kind of experience that they take away from it, because people could be walking past. It's in, I think you were saying the outernet with the Kleenex activation with the artist. That's just kind of outside of like in Soho area.
It's Tottenham Court Station, just outside there.
Yeah, so it's you get that thoroughfare of traffic.
Yeah.
And the people might not even necessarily connect that it's Kleenex, but then they take away the experience they had, and then it probably triggers something in their mind later on, and they talk about it, and there's Kleenex pops up.
Absolutely. Or the next time they're in the supermarket, then there's
Exactly.
those Kleenex boxes with Mr. Doodles all over them.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll just grab those ones over another brand.
Did you actually see did you see any Kleenex boxes? Were they actually transferring that art onto it?
They had pre-done examples there.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, in 3D form. So this was all part of a promotion. So Mr. Doodle had actually pre-done I think 3 or 4 different designs for these little square tissue boxes. So no doubt they were in supermarkets or Boots Pharmacy or wherever over there. So we're talking a lot about tissues here, but at the same time, just that adaptation of public spaces to sell tissues was just phenomenal, just a real eye-opener.
Yeah, well, that reminds me, not the Kleenex thing, but going over to London, went over to London in October last year with my partner, and we got to experience the Stranger Things, the first Shadow theatrical performance at the Phoenix Theatre. And this was my first time in London, and first time experiencing that kind of just the Soho atmosphere of like every theatre is done out in the branding and just the show style. So you're walking down the street and you're experiencing that brand without even going into the theatre.
Absolutely.
If we were going to say, what would be our kind of wow moments and when did we last have a wow moment, I think, for me, the Stranger Things performance and just kind of leaving there, I was almost kind of speechless. I remember seeing the Outernet thing as well, and Mr. Doodle wasn't there that time, but it was another activation experience. And I remember just going, I think I even messaged you immediately.
You did, absolutely. And there's in the whole Outernet area, there's art happening as well. There's art all over the different LED surfaces that are there.
Yeah.
But that art then is obviously, from a commercial point of view, they're funding it with activations.
Yeah. What key learning would you share with your teams back here at AV1, Sprintr, and All Creatures from the experience at the London Experience Week?
Look, it is certainly around designing and building for the audience, thinking of the audience rather than thinking of of course you have to think of the stakeholders, those who are paying for the event, or those who are on stage, those who are presenting, they have to be considered. But really speaking, and we do it in a basic form with sightlines, to make sure that you've got a good sightline so all the audience can see. So you've got distributed audio so all the audio can hear. But more than ever, it is to ensure that we are now creating experiential environments rather than just putting AV in a room so people can see and hear. There's so much more depth to this, and certainly as audiences get younger, as the mobile phone is in everybody's hand, and do you want them to be distracted by their phone? Do you want them to be using the phone as part of the event?
To engage with it,
to engage with it. You might as well, because that's not going to go anywhere. So it's really to just think of those opportunities that are going to really engage the audience, and to adapt as much as we can with design and aesthetics in environments, rather than adapting from dual screen projection, as two screens, two 16:9 screens on the wall, and replacing them with a 3-to-1 LED wall now. It is really just to think about the whole aesthetic to create really engaging learning environments.
Yeah, my next question was going to be, what would you offer the clients? But I think it almost applies the same. Do you think? Or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all working together to create these great environments.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is to just keep adapting. One thing that the pandemic taught us was that we need to adapt.
Yeah.
And we had to adapt really fast, within days. And Josh, you were there with us.
Back in 2020.
With this journey.
Yeah.
That was, days and weeks in the making, where we just had to adapt. And we did very successfully. But we have to keep on adapting.
Yeah.
We can't just now rest on our laurels and go, oh, well, that was that, and now we're just back to live and back to normal and back to ordinary. We have to keep adapting and progressing exponentially, as the equipment and as the technology does,
Do you think that kind of adapting and kind of evolving mentality kind of especially applies now with, the stakeholders, like from a client side, they're communicating remotely and not really putting as much emphasis, with that in-person human connection that events can bring. It's probably even more vital now to keep that kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more vital to have humans engaging with each other.
Yeah.
I know I'm very biased here, but what better than to have a live experience together, than to build culture, than to build collaboration, and all of those things. So of course, yes, it's in my interest for people to be, coming along to events using Sprintr kiosks, walking into a ballroom where there's AV1 equipment and being, shot and content created by all things, all creatures. But at the same time, so I'm very biased, but it's for good reason.
Yeah. Do you think, just on the kind of the difference between the experience you had in London and us here in Australia and the industry here, not just the events industry, not just the AV industry, the creative industry, the film industry, we're all in this kind of together. We're creating journeys and experiences for people. Do you think Australia has just as much potential as London? I mean, it's probably not as big, but could it be?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it could not necessarily as big because of the population, essentially, but in terms of the thinking and in terms of the creativity and in terms of the potential, absolutely. What you have is you've got people working in movies, you've got people working in theatre, you've got people working in sport, you've got corporate, you've got entertainment, music festivals, all that kind of stuff. It would be amazing to see all of these experiences converge, so that the feeling that you get when you go to a music concert, the spine-tingling hair in the back of the neck when you're, watching a music concert, imagine having the same feeling at a corporate event, or, a theatrical moment at a corporate event. So there's a great opportunity and a great need for convergence across all of these disciplines. We're all using a lot of the same technology, but if we can collaborate, we can make some great experiences for the new stakeholder, i.e. the audiences.
Absolutely. I love that one. Do you think with the corporate events in Australia, and this is obviously your main kind of clientele in Australia, or in Sydney and abroad in Australia, do you think the genuine audience engagement has kind of moved more towards a one-way delivery? I know we kind of have touched on this already in the past couple of questions, but it is very important, and I think it's good to kind of reemphasize this. It kind of limits the opportunities for individual and shared experiences which you get out of these in-person events. Brand activations, they do this really well. Could corporate Australia borrow some activation spice?
Look, in terms of that idea of an audience, a one-way kind of an address to an audience, then yes, I think that is changing and certainly has to keep changing. There's a want and a need for more conversational presentations or more group participation. And I mean, that who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want all of your audience participating, giving feedback, giving real-time input? The traditional stakeholders want to hear their audience. The audience oftentimes want to be heard as well. Some don't want to be heard, but changing that presentation style into something more experiential, into something more conversational, then that will certainly give better outcomes for everybody when it comes to attending an event.
Do you think, like, on all these emerging technologies, AI, which has been around for a long time, but it's really kind of hit the stratosphere now, should we take a step back and try to better embrace kind of what it is to be human? I mean, is this kind of what we should be kind of helping our clients connect with and actually go, it's not just about the technology? And, obviously this is hard to say from a AV production company.
Yeah, but we've always been about the desired outcome.
Exactly.
And fit for purpose AV.
Yeah.
So, it's not about selling the latest and greatest tech with the wrong intention or the wrong purpose or the wrong outcome.
Yeah.
It has to be the right fit.
And so, the emerging technologies can kind of enhance the human experience rather than detract from it. And
I guess you've got to ask the next generation of humans, because, my kids now are very content with, chatting, interacting, engaging with their friends and buddies on devices or through gamification or, games, online games and what have you. So yes, perhaps it would be a shame if people never kind of gathered again. But at the same time, humans will kind of adapt. They'll probably swing one way, and then somebody will say, no, let's gather together and go out in the field and have no technology or nothing at all and just be.
Yeah. Because human gatherings been around since the beginning of time.
Yeah, as long as people are gathering for occasions, whether it's birthdays, weddings, whatever, you're going to have gatherings of sorts. So I have faith that there will still be the ability and the want and the need for people to gather in some way, shape, or form.
AV1 is proudly a B Corp certified business and has been since 2016. Well done.
Thank you.
Can you tell us why it is so important for AV1 to be a B Corp?
Yes. So look, as you said, AV1 was a B Corp, became a B Corp, certified as a B Corp in 2016. We originally, one of our ops manager at the time, Nathan, he had seen a B Corp presentation at a conference that we had been involved in. And he looked at it and he said, that sounds like us, we should totally, explore this. And we looked through the the criteria to become a B Corp. And we thought, this is absolutely us. This would be a doddle. It took 10 months for us to actually certify as a B Corp. And we ended up being the only AV company in the world to become a B Corporation. Now, what does that mean? From a attraction and retention of staff point of view, it's a big plus. It's a big tick for us. So it's quite important for a business or a company to have purpose. So that has served us well on the recruitment side. And as you know, Josh, I've been very good over the years in picking up a lot of people and great people and excellent people. But you can't just go around picking up staff. You have to pick up clients and customers as well.
Yeah.
So on that side, so on the commercial side with the B Corp, it was evident early on in some procurement departments that it was coming, that there were, even in one particular procurement, I remember back in 2016 or 17, seeing the word, are you, qualified ISO, or are you this, or are you a B Corp? And so at that point, we hadn't quite qualified yet. So I put, B Corp pending. And I was surprised and very happy to see the B Corp being mentioned then. So from a commercial point of view, it means that if we are having to provide information about the business, then the fact that we've done all this pre-work in whether it's with our supply chain, whether it's anti-slavery, whether it's our contribution to the environment, our contribution to the communities around us, and that is communities, not just those in need, but all of our communities, and the way in which we engage and employ staff. That there's a whole lot of boxes that have been ticked by applying to and recertifying as a B Corp, and we've now recertified twice since we originally became a B Corp. So it means
congratulations.
Thank you, thanks. And it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot of data.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of input. So it is something that it is a big investment. If anyone's thinking of becoming a B Corp out there, it's a big investment in time and effort and resources. But it does mean that you feel very, very confident when you are asked to bid on an event or with a procurement department for a corporate customer or whatever, that you've got all the boxes ticked, and you can pretty much just send across your B Corp credentials, and that has many of those requirements are already done. So for us, it's really valuable, and it adds value to the business. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean your staff. I mean, I know I was one of them. Can proudly go out there and be proud that the place they're working for is a B Corp.
We've got it printed on our
you
staff
do,
uniforms,
absolutely,
on the back of our staff uniforms, and on the vehicles and the whole thing. So we're very
it's
proud
everywhere.
of it. On our website, I'm sure.
You mentioned there just quickly that, or especially back then in 2016, you were, from what you knew, you were one of the only, or if not the only AV production company in the world.
I think we still are.
It still are.
I think we still are.
And in Australia as well.
Yeah. Look, I'm not sure. Look, definitely in Australia, but I'm not sure if there's any others around the country. I'm not sure what number B Corp we were in Australia, because it was pretty new back then as well. But certainly, as far as I'm aware, we're the only AV company in the world who's a B Corp.
Well, I mean, everyone listening, if you're an AV production company, events production company, look into B Corp. It's very valuable.
Get it done.
You can join the group of wonderful people. You started Festival Group as an incubator to drive growth and new ideas across the industry.
Yes.
Where would you like to see Festival in 5 years? What about the industry and the client base as a whole? Maybe a 2030 mission?
Look, sounds great, Josh. A 2030 mission is good because it means that I actually have a deadline and I'll stick to something. Look, for the last 12 months since I stepped out of the day-to-day running of AV1, and left it to others that are much better and younger and more good looking and more skilled than I am. I have been looking around at different concepts, ideas, whether that is an LED venue, whether that is a design consideration for events and all sorts. So I would love to certainly expand the portfolio and purely for the sake of having fun, and inventing some new products, services, brands, something that can solve a problem, something that can surprise and delight, whether it's a corporate audience, whether it's a public audience or something. I'm in a very fortunate position where I have the time now to be able to devote to other explorations, hence going across to the WXO event in London. But who knows, Josh, what will happen between now and 2030? But but I'll get something going.
Watch the space. I look forward to seeing the journey and the wonderful things that happen. Keith, thank you so much for your time today. I've taken some really interesting things out of it. One, audience as stakeholders. I think that's very important. to everyone out there, if you're thinking about how to put an event together, I think, the audience should be number one. It should be number one.
Absolutely.
And I'll definitely be on the supermarket shelves, hopefully looking out for Mr. Doodle artwork on the Kleenex boxes.
I'd be Mr. Godding at some stage.
I enjoyed our conversation, Keith. I believe our listeners will find it very insightful as well. So thank you very much.
Josh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, and well done for you. People like you, Josh, stepping out and putting these things on. Well, that's, just advancing humanity one podcast at a time, isn't it?
Thank you. You can learn more about Keith's mission at festivalgroup.com.au.
FSTVL GRP.com.au. No vowels.
Excellent. I was hoping you'd say the no vowels. I really like that when you told me about that before. So
it's missing, interesting enough, it's missing A, E, I, O, and U just once.
There you go.
For word nerds out there.
I bet you thought about that when you were thinking about the name. You can also connect with Keith on LinkedIn. He'd be very happy to connect with everyone. Don't miss the next episode of In the Event coming soon, where I will be speaking with another individual influencing impactful moments across our events industry. Until then, see you in the event. Go, go, go.